This is the solution video for Unit 5 review problem number 6. Two ships sail from the same island port, one going north at 24 knots, 24 nautical miles per hour, and the other east at 30 knots. The northbound ship departed at 9 a.m., and the eastbound ship departed at 11 a.m. How fast is the distance between them increasing at 2 p.m.? All right, so you've got this port, right? And one ship sails north at 24 knots and the other east, right? And so the distance that the northbound ship traveled, let's call that N, and the distance that the eastbound ship traveled, let's call that E. Now, they're both moving, right? And so there is a dN dt, right, which is positive, right, because N is increasing, and there is a dE dt, and it is positive because E is increasing, right? All right, and so N, well, the rate at which the northbound ship is traveling is 24 knots, right? 24 nautical miles per hour. All right, dE dt is 30 knots, right? 30 nautical miles per hour, right? Those are both positive. All right, now the question is related to how far they are separating from each other, right? And so the separation between them, all right, I'm going to call that S, is changing. And so there is a ds dt, right, which is some positive value that we wish to know, right, because it says how fast is the distance between them increasing, right? So now, all right, we want to talk about our find statement. Find what when what? Well, find ds dt, right, how fast they are separating at 2 p.m., right? So at 2 p.m., right? This is something we need to think about, right? At 2 p.m. means what? Well, you were told that the northbound ship departed at 9 a.m., right? So that means the time of the northbound ship traveling, well, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. is 5 hours, right? All right. And the time that the eastbound ship has been traveling, well, it left at 11. So that means it was traveling for 3 hours, right? So that's really what you need to take from at 2 p.m. All right, now how are the variables related? Well, this is a Pythagorean theorem question. So n squared plus e squared equals s squared. Now, all of them are changing, so they all have the variables here. And so now we want to take the derivative. So 2n dn dt plus 2e de dt equals 2s ds dt, right? Now we want to plug in known quantities, right? Now, what do we know? Well, we know dn dt and de dt, but we don't know n, e, or s. And then we want to solve for ds dt. So how do I find n, e, and s? Well, if you were traveling, um, if you were traveling 24 nautical miles per hour for 5 hours, right? So you can figure out that n is going to be 24 nautical miles per hour times 5 hours, right? That's going to get you the value of n, right? So that is going to get you 120 nautical miles, right? So n is 120. All right. What about e? Well, you were traveling 30 nautical miles for 3 hours, right? So you have traveled 90 nautical miles. Now, if n and e are 90 and 120, you can say 120 squared plus 90 squared equals s squared. Right now, you want to use the Pythagorean theorem to solve here, but keep in mind, right, this is really just a 3, 4, 5 right triangle. So s should be 150, right? Because 90 is 3 times 30, right? 120 is 4 times 30, right? So then s should be 5 times 30, right? All right, so now we can plug in our known quantities. So 2 times n is 120 times dn dt, which is 24, plus 2 times e is 90, times de dt, which is 30, equals 2 times s, which is 150, times ds dt, which is what we want to know, right? And so then the algebra here is actually very simple, right? We're just taking this left side and dividing by 2 times 150. So 2 times 120 times 24 plus 2 times 90 times 30 all over 2 times 150, right? All right, so obviously the twos reduce here, 150, 90, right? So I can divide everything by 10, right? So this just becomes 9, this just becomes 12, this just becomes 15, right? Now everything is divisible by 3, so this can become 5, this can become 3, and this can become 4, right? So to make it a little bit easier, we have 4 times 24 plus 3 times 30 all over 5, right? And so this wouldn't be reducible anymore. So then you would actually want to do that calculation. So 4 times 24 is 96 plus 3 times 30 is 90 over 5. So 96 plus, so 186 over 5, right? Or if you do that calculation, 186 divided by 5 gets you 37.2. So 37.2. So the units here are knots or nautical miles per hour. So the ships are separating at 37.